One of the wins that I want to talk about in when we're changing our thoughts, and we're doing this work that we're doing on a daily basis is that I am not reacting the way that I would have reacted.
And you're noticing that.
And I'm noticing it. So I still feel like I have, I can make it better. Like I can make my response even better because I get a little bit anxious, but it's almost like circumstantial anxiety. It's not like I'm anxious, like
right.
That part I healed with the Dr. Joe work, in the meditations. And then there's so many different levels of anxiety and just to even know, what is circumstantial, what is natural. You should have a little anxiety about this or anyway. And so I'm responding more than reacting. And I'm noticing that just on a daily basis. And just even when you're in the presence of someone who, is a family member and they might be, critical or negative and, not being affected by that, but like inwardly feeling that love for them, like, and to be able to consciously do that, I think that's another win. Hi, everyone. My name is Deborah.
And I'm Deanna.
And today we are here, first of all, to inspire you, to motivate you, and uplift you to want to live your best life ever. And there are so many facets to this. Today we've been talking about changing your thought processes, changing your thoughts. And today we're going to talk about the challenges that happen and also the wins that happen when you are consciously changing your thoughts to create your own life. Okay?
Yes, and we are here to bridge the gap between all the woo-woo that's out there and really what we bring into our lives that's real life. We're going to give you some of our experiences, everything that we've experienced through doing this work of connecting, going into our heart and connecting our heart to our brain so that we have that heart-brain coherence, so that we're in the rhythm and going with the flow of the universal flow, the grace, the love, the passion, the joy. And we realized when we were walking in here how much we love to do this. And why we're here is to not only we uplift ourselves by doing this, but to uplift you to be inspired to live your best life.
Yeah. So, when we talk about, all right, we're going to start with when we talk about living in joy and love and were there any other words you used, the descriptive words? I think joy and love are two of the biggest ones. If you think about how much out of your day are you actually in love and joy? And when we were riding here together today, Deanna and I haven't seen each other in a week, which is a lot for us to be apart for a week. And so when we talked on the phone this morning and you said, so how are you doing? And I said, oh, we're going to talk about that on the podcast. And she was like, okay. But how much time we spend in our day in love and joy. And so what you and I work on is having more time in love and joy.
Yes.
And so go ahead.
Because this morning I was asking, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Because I've had a shift in perception and I really recognized it being outside of my daily routine when I was away with my family in California for the week. And I came back and everything looks different. And everything looked different for me there when I was there. And I found like that I was observing myself and being in the moment instead of being in the past. Your thoughts are either from the past or for the future or from the future, and just being present and feeling that heart and heart coherence. That's all I can say is like, this is why we're here, is to be here in the energy of love.
Well, yeah. And you said that also when you brought yourself to the present, you didn't feel the stress of the others. So you didn't travel with your family. You actually traveled to see your family,
my family,
which is your son, daughter-in-law, and three young grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, when you're with your young grandchildren, who are ages 2 and 4, that's all they are is present.
Oh my gosh. And it was so fun observing them. Yeah. And they just have fun.
Yes.
They're doing things that are fun for them.
Yeah. And that's one of the great parts about being a grandparent is that you get to observe it without having all of the responsibility
Correct.
of the caretaking in that. But also being outside of your daily routine. So you went to the regular Airbnb that you stay in. Okay. So you have a little routine there, right?
I do.
Okay. So you had a different routine there than you do here because it's a completely different environment and a completely different weather and everything, right?
Yeah.
And so then you go to your son and daughter-in-law's house and they are in their own routine. And so when you go there, you are familiar with it, but it's so different depending on the age of the children, because especially the 2-year-old, well, even the 4-year-old, they change like every month. If you think about that, they're evolving. But look at us as adults. Okay, because we're not present and unless we're intentionally evolving, that we're the same. You're doing the same thing every day. You're doing the same way. You're thinking, what have we said? 95% of the thoughts we had yesterday are the same ones that we have today. So you have to take yourself outside of that. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because the way to do that is opposite. You have to take yourself outside of your daily routines and habits and thoughts by going inward. Mm-hmm. Okay? So
and not being distracted by everything out there. And we were even talking about, I had a different perception. I'm not on social media. I do very little on social media. I do not scroll. I get really bored
I do
with
too.
scrolling. But there were a couple things that I saw that I could see right through it. I mean, one was AI developed. You could definitely see that. And maybe the other one was, but everyone is trying to sell you something.
So true.
And they're doing it in whatever manipulative way that they can.
Yes. And so, now with AI, it's so much easier. And so we have an 86-year-old mother who says, you know what? You don't even know what's real and what isn't real anymore. Mm-mm. And, when you're looking at social media.
Outside of you don't know what's real, but inside, we know what's real.
Right. And so in order to start changing, and so we're going to talk about some of the challenges, but in order to start changing the way you think, you have to go inward. Is that what I was going to say? That you have to go inward and you have to make a conscious decision and you have to be conscious. And we've talked about ways to change your habits by being conscious when you're doing something that is unconscious.
Like
so anything, like
driving,
brushing your teeth, driving your car, anything that you do on a regular, everyday basis.
That you don't even have to think about, that your body memorizes and that it just automatically does it. And bringing yourself into the moment and saying like, okay, I'm going to get the bananas out of the freezer. I'm going to get the, spirulina and the barley grass juice powder. Now I'm going to put a teaspoon each in my smoothie.
So you're saying that as you're doing it.
You're doing it. So it's bringing me to the present moment. I'm not thinking about the past. I'm not worrying about the future. And because that's what causes us stress.
Oh, so true.
It's really nothing outside of us. We are in control of our stress level. And
when we're conscious, we can control our stress level.
That's what I was going to say. And so when you bring yourself into the present moment, there's nothing to be stressed about.
I know. It's so true. It's so true. And then you can, when you're in the present moment too, you can feel your connection with whoever you're with too. Mm-hmm. You can feel the connection, the heart-to-heart connection. And that's how you start to feel the love. And so when you're present, you can do that. You're not sitting there like thinking about the next thing you're going to think, or looking at the way they're dressed, or,
or thinking about how you're going to respond to what they're saying right now.
Yes.
Before they even stop, before, you even stop talking.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember that I used to think of responding, what I was responding to, instead of allowing. I mean, this is what it's all about, is allowing. When we're connecting to our heart, we're actually connecting to the higher power, source energy. And we're getting downloads and information. And so it's coming from pure love.
Right.
Instead of past experiences or future worries.
Right. And so past experiences, when we have those, we're identifying with our emotions. So a past experience is just an emotion, right? And so
it's an emotional memory.
But you're going into that emotion.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's also, you can use that to totally reframe your thinking by using your imagination while you're doing it. Let's talk about what we do when we go into the bank. But one thing I want to mention before I do that is that it's the pause. So take the time when someone else is talking to pause before you respond. And I know that is a very powerful moment, is when you pause, because then you can actually allow the words to come through you. Mm-hmm. And that was a conscious decision that I made in the moment while we were going back and forth, and we were just so excited, and then just to remember the pause.
Mm-hmm. And when I pause, I bring my attention into my heart, into my fourth energy center, and it brings me to the present moment. Mm-hmm. So
it's that simple. It's that simple. And we just demonstrated it here right now. So real life examples, and we're demonstrating the real life examples by being so connected because you and I are twins, and we have that also, the telepathic communication, and we can just roll off of each other. And one isn't talking over the other or in competition or, any of that we might have in other conversations that we have.
Yeah, because we've come a long way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, because we've been doing the work.
Because we've been doing the work.
Right.
And we would interrupt each other. Mm-hmm. We would, and we've had to really consciously work on that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's really about respecting yourself, respecting the other person that you're talking to.
Yes. Divine neutrality.
Yeah.
And tuning into your heart. So Deanna and I love to go around our community and spread the positive vibes. So places that we go to weekly, I would say, like one of the places is the bank. And so
before, until recently, I would drive through the bank.
Oh, right. Yes.
Right? I would just drive through because it's so convenient and it's so easy. But then, I wasn't developing a relationship with the tellers.
Right. And there's the glass that's there, and they're talking through a microphone. And so you don't get that. I mean, even though there's a body there, you're not really getting that connection.
Right.
I mean, you can, but it's not the same as going into the bank. And at our bank, we get to sit down and we get to have a conversation with our teller. And so there's usually 3 different tellers that are all in their own offices, and they have nice offices, and whoever is available will greet us and we'll go to their office. And so then Deanna and I started going in together. Mm-hmm. And so we get to have this conversation with our teller, and you're the one who started it. So why don't you talk about what we say when we go in, or what you say when you go in? No?
I think we may have mentioned this in another podcast, but it is so fun. We've had a wonderful experience with each and every teller. And I think that there's 5 that I can think of right now. And so we go in with our cash deposit and we just ask them to energetically, in their mind, as they're putting the number into the computer, to add 3 zeros to it. And so instead of like $383, we ask them to think that they're depositing the energy of $383,000.
And to get into
the feeling of that, and to what that feels like.
And so they play along with us. They do. It's
do.
So much fun. So we're actually having an imagination, we're experiencing an imagination game with our tellers, and they're like so open to it, and they have fun with it. And so this week Deanna was out of town, and I thought about going through the drive-through. You know, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just go through the drive-through. Deanna's not here with me. And then I thought, nope, I'm going to go in. And so it was interesting because I was with my daughter, but she wasn't going to go in with me. She had no intention of going in. And so I go in, and Nicole greets me, and I say, hi, Nicole. And I sit down, and I said, have I told you? Have I told you that I am so rich that I have a personal chef who cooks me dinner every single night? She goes, no, you never told me that. I said, yeah. And I have a chauffeur. I have a chauffeur too. And it was because my daughter is my chauffeur when we're in the car together. And then she's also my personal chef. So I said that to Nicole. So I'm like, so I have, my personal chef is my daughter, but she does. And she's an incredible chef. And so when I get into that feeling, and I had never even thought about that before,
right,
until I was talking to a salesperson in my home a week ago. And I mentioned that I have a personal chef. And I think I said my daughter is, but he didn't hear that part. So then at the end of his sales pitch, he said, so you have a personal chef. How often does she cook for you? And I said, every day. He goes, what does she do? Does she bring you, does she drop it off? I mean, how does she do that? I said, no, she lives with me. She's my daughter. He's like, oh, because he's trying to sell me these high-end entrance doors to my house, right? And he's like, oh, she's got a personal chef. She can afford this. It's so funny. But so I told this to Nicole, and so we were just, laughing and having fun with that. And I forgot to tell her that I have my own personal trainer too. Oh, but I go to see my personal trainer. But anyhow,
so just get you. So the reason why you're bringing this up is because you're really getting into the feeling of what that feels like.
Yes,
because
go ahead.
It's the elevated emotion that draws the experience to you. And that's the law of attraction. I mean, we're law of attraction and manifesting. Those are like buzzwords now. And we've been doing this work for, since the 80s. And it was before law of attraction and channeling and, mediumship was out there. And that's all, it's still woo-woo to a lot of people because you can't hear it, smell it, taste it, or touch it.
Right.
But it's and you don't even have to believe it. You can just test it.
Right.
Test it.
That's so true.
Set an intention that everything is going to flow smoothly for you today. And that, and the people that you meet, you're going to have a really joyful interaction with them, whether it's just a smile and hello. And it's funny because it just reminds me of when Kevin and I were walking through the Chicago airport last night. I said, look at everyone, Kevin. I said, no one's smiling. I know.
And
they're all tunnel vision. They're not even making eye contact with anybody. And so I was trying to make eye contact with people as they're walking by me.
Yes.
And it was like I was invisible.
Yes.
And I was smiling and there was one woman that did catch my smile and catch my eye. And Kevin said, well, she almost smiled at you.
Oh my gosh.
So, People are being
they're not
present.
used to, yeah, and
they're just
not,
like getting to their next plane, and they're not enjoying the journey.
I know.
And it's really the journey
In
that
life.
yes, the journey from point A to point B, that is the fun part.
Right.
We think it's the destination that's gonna bring us so much joy. But once you get to the destination, it's like, now what? All right, I got here.
Oh, I know.
Now what?
Yes.
So
yes.
you think of a different, goal, desire that you have, and
then you go tunnel vision right toward
or you
that.
set your intentions that this is the goal that I'm going to have, and so source energy, universe will bring the experiences to you, and synchronicities start to happen. You're not making things happen.
Yeah, you're not forcing it.
No. It's
Yes.
coming to you
Yes.
because of that elevated emotion. And so when Deborah can think, oh my gosh, I have a personal chef, because I am like, I'm envious of Deborah that she did. Sammy is very creative. She's an artist, so she's very creative in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm eating my, my nutritious stuff that is the same. And
The same every day.
Salads and
Yes,
spinach soup,
yes.
and
I'm having gourmet vegan dinners every night. Yeah, it's incredible.
And so I think it's so great, and to get into the feeling of that.
Well, and I do have an envy of Deanna's that I thought about in the past couple of days, because I had a little leak underneath my kitchen sink, and Deanna has her own handyman.
I do.
And she doesn't like. You just have to mention it, and he's on it like in the moment.
So great. And I really, really appreciate my husband, because I'll just say, what was the one thing recently? There was no power in my sink, and we have a double sink bathroom, and his was very powerful, and it got warm really fast, and mine wasn't. And so I started using his sink.
And he didn't like that.
I guess not, because then he fixed my sink.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And so he spent a couple hours fixing it, and he fixed it, and he was so proud of himself.
I know.
I mean, it really is. It's really, he loves doing that.
Yeah.
So
I went to
great.
Home Depot and I walked into the plumbing aisle, and I was like looking. I looked a couple of times because I'm like, okay, what do I need?
Well, but you had gone on YouTube, right? And you had looked up
No.
to see what you needed. Oh,
No, not at all. But I mean, it's basic. It's the piping underneath the sink,
the kitchen sink.
the kitchen sink. Yeah, and so
It was
I was
leaking.
just looking for this one little part of that, which is the under part, right? And so
The curvy part.
yeah, the curved part. And so I'm like, okay. And you and I were on the phone together,
Yeah.
right? And so I forgot what you were like guiding me or something. And
I said, in Home Depot, there's a lot of people. I mean, they're there to help you.
yes, and
which
so
is so
there was
great.
nobody around, and I kept like looking to see if anyone was around. And then I gave up, and I went to the customer service desk.
Well,
and
you
said,
allowed.
I
You were
allowed.
like, okay, you
That's
didn't give
true.
up.
I allowed, and I asked for someone to help me in plumbing. And Joe came. He met me at the customer service desk. We went right there. I showed him. I had a little video of the
Oh,
leak.
yeah.
Yeah. And I showed him, and he's like, "This is what you need, and this is what you need." And I'm like, "Perfect.
Yes.
perfect."
Yeah.
And then I needed a tool, and he said, "Let's go over here to the clearance section." They had, they had some on clearance, but they were gone. So we went back, and he was like, in my interest of saving me money, because I was like, okay, I'm just going to start acquiring the tools that I need to fix things around
Isn't
the
that
house.
great?
The main reason is because I don't have a handyman. And so I want to be able to fix things myself. And then if I can't, because I've hired handymans before, and they don't quite do the work the same way that you would expect or you want it done.
Kevin
The
would do it.
quality of the work,
Yeah.
like your husband
Yeah.
would do.
Yeah.
Because he's
a
a
perfectionist.
perfectionist. And it's
His house.
His house. Yeah.
He takes great pride.
Yeah. So that it's a whole different level.
It is. It is. So I'm like, and I would never do that. I would call a handyman because I
Yeah.
would never think to do that. And that's where you have taught me a lot. Like you if you don't know how to do something, then you just ask for guidance. Okay, so you just close your eyes. Okay, how can I fix this? What do I need to do? And then the answers will come.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask anybody outside of you.
Yes. And so one of the wins that I want to talk about in when we're changing our thoughts, and we're doing this work that we're doing on a daily basis is that I am not reacting the way that I would have reacted.
And you're noticing that.
And I'm noticing it. So I still feel like I have, I can make it better. Like I can make my response even better because I get a little bit anxious, but it's almost like circumstantial anxiety. It's not like I'm anxious, like
right.
That part I healed with the Dr. Joe work, in the meditations. And then there's so many different levels of anxiety and just to even know, what is circumstantial, what is natural. You should have a little anxiety about this or anyway. And so I'm responding more than reacting. And I'm noticing that just on a daily basis. And just even when you're in the presence of someone who, is a family member and they might be, critical or negative and, not being affected by that, but like inwardly feeling that love for them, like, and to be able to consciously do that, I think that's another win.
I'm just getting chills.
Yeah, that's a big win.
That's huge.
And not being affected. And you were the one that talked about not being affected by others' stresses. I mean, your son and daughter-in-law have twin 2-year-olds.
Twin 2-year-olds and a 4.5-year-old. And they have careers.
Yes. And they have a live-in au pair.
Yes.
So that helps. But still, there's still so much.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And I give them a lot of credit. However, I didn't get affected by their stress levels.
Right.
And I was conscious about staying centered and staying in the moment because I'm the one that wants to make everything right and make everything run smoothly. And I just had to sit back and allow. And I know just by my energy being present, feeling love for my grandchildren and my son and my daughter-in-law, I'm just feeling so much love and appreciation for them that that you can't see it.
Well, it overrides, the negativity or feeling their stress or, having a negative judgment about anything. It overrides it.
Neutralizes it.
It neutralizes
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good word. Yeah.
And so that's what, that was my big win this time because I've been there, every other month. And and since the twins were born for 2 years, and I was always caught up in their chaotic, their stressful life.
Yeah, and it affected you.
And it affected me. Yeah, I would get stressed out.
Yes.
And I do everything in my power to stay centered, to stay balanced, and to not be affected.
Well, and also,
to be able to respond.
And also trying to fix it. And
No.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So what about challenges? Have you had any challenges? And it's interesting because we can think of challenges as opportunities.
It's the best way to think about that.
Yeah. So opportunities. Have you had any opportunities that have enabled you to see if you've really embodied the work? Like something comes up and you might respond in your old Deanna way. Anything that you can think of? Because I have something, if you can't think of something.
Well, I was just going to say, in our conversation this morning, the challenge was I get defensive. I get defensive. And that was the whole thing that Deborah really opened my eyes to in the moment. Every time I got defensive, she would call me on it. Like, why am I defending myself? Mm-hmm. What does that say about me? Mm-hmm. What does that say about how I think about myself? Mm-hmm. And no, you know what? When I'm human and I am doing the work and I just have to give myself a lot of grace. You have to give yourself a lot of grace.
Yes.
As
Oh,
you're
yes.
evolving.
Yes.
And be, like we talked about, like talk to yourself as you would a child that's just learning. No, you did a great job. You were conscious of it after the fact. And next time, I'll play it in my mind and I will retrain my frontal lobe to respond instead of reacting and to recognize that emotion, that feeling that comes up in my body, like defends and say, don't need to defend myself anymore.
Yeah. So
what's yours?
One of mine, I have one big one and then a little one. So I will get tested, and I did this morning when we were on the phone, and Deanna's out walking, and you don't have sidewalks where you walk, and on one of the roads, the cars go really fast, and so we lost connection.
Oh, it's because it was near the lake.
And and because you're near the lake, and and the old me would have had visions of you getting hit by a car, or you falling, or something happening. And this happens a lot with my son too when I'm talking with him on the phone, or because I track him, that he I might say to myself, why is he there? I might track him if he's coming to my house, or to find out where he is to talk to him. And so if he's at one place that it's out of the ordinary, I would think if something happened, or if he was at some place too long, and so
on when we were on the phone this morning, and
that happened. So
yes.
it started to come in, and I said, no, that's the old me. That's not me. And I was walking also. And so I just continued my walk. I noticed that my heart rate didn't go up, that, because when you get an image like that and your heart rate goes up, and, and you just like go into this whole downward spiral. And I didn't do that. And I've been catching myself in those situations a lot more lately.
And it's a lot.
Because they're coming up for me, and those are opportunities for me to see that I am embodying the work that I'm doing and that it is working.
Yeah.
And so I know there's a lot of women because of our clients, we have conversations, and a lot of women say that's what happens. But I think it happens to a lot of people with our thoughts, because you're in survival mode, and you're thinking of the worst case scenario. So anything less than that it's going to be okay. If you're thinking of the worst case scenario, and that doesn't happen, but anything less than that is going to be like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I just want to say in this moment that I had the same thought. Now, Deborah is just telling me the first time that I'm hearing this for the first time, that you had that thought, like, oh my gosh, she's, could have, like, you almost went into that thought. Because when I'm like, Deborah, and I could hear like you walking, and I was like, Deborah, I can't hear you. And then I was like, my thoughts started to go into, oh my gosh, is she talking to somebody else? Did she fall? I had the same feeling. I had the same thing come up, and I was like, nope, let that go. And I like hung up the phone, and I was just going to give it a minute. And you ended up calling me right back.
Yeah. Yep. And so with Mom, because she's 86 years old, she lives alone. She lives in a 2-story house, and I think about her. And if she doesn't answer the phone when I call, I used to go into worry and panic. And then now and this happens with my son too. If I call him and he doesn't answer, and I would go into worry and panic that, something was wrong. And so now I just give it an hour. Like, I'll give it an hour, and I'll breathe into it. And then I call in an hour, and they'll answer. And I know you and I sometimes contact each other. And if she doesn't answer either one of us, and it's been a few hours, then we call our next door neighbor.
Then we do. Can you go check on Mom?
Yeah.
And she does. And it's so great. And
I know.
But, we all have that. We all have that. Especially women, have those worry thoughts.
Yes.
And so that's having control over your past experiences. That's having, like, when you can stop it in the minute and be like, nope, bring yourself into your heart and say, no, I'm not going to go down that road. That's the old me, or I've evolved from that.
Yes.
And bring yourself into your heart center and just feel love for that person. And that's the best thing that we can do. And it brings us to being in homeostasis.
Yes. To be able to control that, because if you can get an image in your mind and it can create all these physiological responses in your body, then you can do that for yourself by changing that image, and if you can't change the image or the thought, then you just do the breath work and breathing. That's what helps us to get into the present moment, and actually putting your hand on your heart.
We talk about that.
That helps a lot.
Yeah, that brings your attention to your heart. So I know that you all can relate to what we've talked about here today, that, catch yourself. I mean, just be aware, just set your intention that if your mind is going to go think of the worst case scenario, or think, worry about something, or people, get in the car and the first thing they do is put on their seatbelt because they want to feel safe. So really play in your mind, you're going to have a safe, smooth ride to wherever you're going. You're going to find that parking spot, and that, setting that energy before you go is going to make your life so much better.
So that's setting intentions. Yes. So, and also, if you're starting to practice some of these tools that we're giving you, and you're noticing things, would you give us a comment?
Yeah,
just comment below and let us know, because what you experience will help other people too. And so we would love it if you would let us know if you're using these experiences.
Well, just like Nicole at
the bank. So back to the bank for just a minute. So Nicole, she goes, I was thinking of you and your sister just recently because I'm spreading the positivity too. I'm telling my coworkers about adding the zeros on, and, we're just having fun with it. And so they're, imagine, just raising the vibe wherever you go, even just to the grocery store, or to your bank, raise the vibe.
Yes. Spread the joy.
Yeah. I don't know if I told you about Tawny, that I went to the next bank. And I went in and I was like, I don't usually play this like imagination game when I go into that bank because they're a little bit busier there and there's people waiting. So anyway, I sat down, and Tawny, I've been dealing with her for years. And so I said, okay, Tawny, I'm going to ask you to play a little imagination game with me. And she said, oh, I'll try. I go, I know. It was knocked out of us when we were in school, the imaginations, right? And so I said, all I want you to do is when you're depositing this money, just energetically add 3 zeros. We had so much fun, and we were laughing, and, it was just like a 2-minute interaction, but we had so much fun. And that she was going to be able to carry that into the next segment.
Yeah.
Whoever, she was waiting on next. So we can have that effect on people in our own community, in our own daily lives. And let me tell you, it is so healing for everyone. Not only the person you are talking to, but for yourself. It's just so healing to do that. And that's how we change the world.
And that's what we want everyone to have, this experience.
Experience that, yes. And so let us know.
It was
so great to be here again today, and to know that you're watching and you're listening and you're starting to practice some of our tools, and
that you're really starting to experience the life that you want to live.
Yes, and be the person that you want to be, and be in thriving mode and not surviving mode,
and being uplifting and bring up the energy. And you have to do that for yourself first.
Yes. And thank you so much for being here today. We love you.
We love you.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Or you'll see us.
Yes.
We want to hear from you.
Yes.
Okay. Bye.